I'm starting it off laughing. Hey, everybody, welcome to EverydayFI. I'm your host, Meghan Combs, and I'm here to say you do not need $1 million book deal or a famous blog to reach financial independence. By exploring the lives of everyday people pursuing FI, I can show you how to forge your own path to financial freedom the everyday way. In today's Mitch and Meg episode, we're going to talk about leaving things behind. That's why this is called Goodbye to All That, Loving and Leaving Things Behind. If anybody is a Joan Didion fan, that's actually named after one of her essays about leaving New York. Only literary nerds would probably know that. But we're going to talk about leaving careers, places, people, even the financial independence community. But before that, we're going to hear from some advertisers who, by the way, I do not choose and do not condone. All right, we're back. Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
I'm great. I've never read your literary nerd essay, but I'm great. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. Just, it's Wednesday. I just got off work. Work was crazy. So, we're not recording on a Saturday morning like we normally do. So, you're getting a very different version of Megan. You're getting the burnt out brain Megan. Just so you guys know before we hit record, I actually recorded the intro twice because I clicked like stop recording instead of mute. So, like that's where my brain's at today.
Well, the good news is, I think it was your third one. Your first one was really good. Your middle one, we had to start over. And the last one was solid too. I think everybody will be pleased. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking right before you said it that this is maybe the first time we've ever recorded on a weeknight. It's hard to say. Maybe in the early days, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you. I'm in my work attire. I'm still in work mode. I'm on my work computer. Like it's very odd. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to chat about this. I like the lead in that you gave about employment and about people and just there's so many different things in life that we have to sort through. And it's kind of interesting. We talk sometimes about beginning, middle, and the end. And sometimes like it's hard to identify what the end is, when it might be, or why it matters, you know. So I don't know what you think about that or how you want to kick off, but we can jump forward whenever you're ready.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. It's like I remember when I left my career, my art history career, and I know I've done this one to death, so I won't like talk too much about this. If you guys want to hear that whole story, Mitch interviews me on the podcast at one point. I'll put that in the show notes and then I talk about it in one of my like very very early episodes about just changing careers from art history in New York City. And I remember listening, I think I was listening to a podcast or I was looking at a Pinterest or something, but something said or read, sometimes you turn the page to get to the next chapter, and sometimes you have to know when to close the book. And I remember crying, like breaking down crying. I'm pretty sure it was actually Gene Chatsky's HerMoney that somebody was interviewed on there and said that because I remember being on a plane and listening to it. So I'm pretty sure it was a podcast, and I can't remember which episode it was, but I remember like kind of like tearing up about it because that's when I knew I needed to leave my art history career. So it's not always that like clear cut. Probably not for you, but that was for me for that specific moment.
Yeah, it's interesting on the career standpoint, and especially I feel like I've harped on this before, so I hope it doesn't annoy the audience to hear it, and I hope it doesn't bother you in any way. But I think it's really unique because you actually went and worked in a career that you're passionate about that aligned with a degree that you achieved, and so I feel like it's actually more challenging to choose to exit that because one, you're giving up on a passion. Two, you might be admitting to some people that may have been around you saying like it's hard to make money in that career space. Like, and then you chose to opt out of it to go and pursue financials. And then again, you can do it in your own way. You can still pursue art with your own passion in your own way ongoing. So I think that's great. But on a lighter note, it's as you're talking, I was trying to listen, but I was also thinking, have you ever had one of those moments where you have to decide to quit a show? Like, if you watch Schitt's Creek, first episode, the first time you watch it, you may not be in love with it, but you hold out for episode two, and by episode three, you're hooked, right? And sometimes it's hard to know, when do you give up on a show and when do you carry it through. And I don't know if the world calls it this or if we just call it in our house, but when you've committed to something, you're like, dang it, I'm too deep now, I got to finish this. We call it hate watching. So I'm hate watching this show because I
I've
have to get to. I
never
gotta.
heard that. That's hilarious. So you're hate watching Schitt's Creek?
No, 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 no. I
Oh,
love Schitt's
okay.
Creek,
I was gonna say
but
Schitt's
I
Creek's pretty good.
but so you said, on the lighter note, right? So you said, I remember hearing this podcast and tears and all this. I remember we have like one of those L-shaped sectional sofa couches, and Liz lays one way, I lay the other, and we watch our shows or whatever, right? And I remember
Okay,
we
hold on,
hit
hold on, hold
play.
on. My husband and I have the exact same couch and we do the exact same thing. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. That's so funny.
Yeah, so we lay the opposite direction. We watch our show. We hit play on Schitt's Creek. We've heard about it a million times. This is back in like COVID or something, 2020. And we watched the first episode and we might have snickered, we might have giggled, but then you kind of make eye contact. And it's kind of the like, what do you think? Do we hit watch next? Do we bail? We said, let's give it another one. We watched another one and you laugh a little more and you giggle a little more. And then that one gets over and you go, yeah, we're committed to the next one. But I wish I could name a show that like we had to quit by episode 2. But that's obviously like a really light thing. Like when you give up, I walked out of a theater. I'm going to alienate some of your audience. We walked out of Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie with the dumb raccoon that wears headphones and walks around with Chris
Groot.
Pratt like Groot, what, right? We got 45 minutes in and we're like, cut losses, this is awful, and we walked out. So sometimes you just know, on a light note,
I
but
actually think that's really awesome of you because you're like, my time is worth more than spending another minute watching a movie I don't enjoy or a show I don't enjoy, a book you don't enjoy. I'm about to alienate people too. I stopped reading Little Women. I got halfway through that book and I was like, this thing is boring. Now, granted, I was 14, so like maybe if I gave it a shot today, it might be a little better. But I was so bored and I tried so hard with that book, but I was like, this is boring. I'm done. I'm done. I think books are a little easier to like close and move away because it takes so long to do. It takes more effort maybe than
mhm.
just watching a show and being on your phone most of the time while the show's on. So
I am it's really funny you say that. I actually am very judgmental about like how much one is on their phone while watching a show. And then if you
you would
ask me
hate
a
my
question,
mom. She's always
it
on her phone. She's watching.
Liz is on her phone a lot. I'm on my phone a little, unless it's something you can very casually watch. But anyway, this is what before this episode I said I feel like we have like a medium episode here, but tangentially we'll fill space. And whoops, here we go. TV shows and books that we're hate watching or hate
I
reading
know,
or
8
quitting.
minutes
So,
in, people are like, "This is boring, move on." I'm gonna stop listening to this podcast now. 'Cause
well, to
my
get
time is worth more.
please don't stop listening. We
Please don't
promise it'll
stop
be
listening.
good.
It'll be good, guys.
This will pay off in the end. But to stay way down the memory lane trip, right? Like I started out my career part-time in college selling electronics for a big box retail store. That's where I started to learn sales, that's where I started to learn management, that's where I realized I was decent at leading people, and I started to recognize kind of that I had more potential maybe than what I saw around me growing up or what I maybe thought about myself, right? And so it was a great place to be. It was good for me, but at a certain point, granted the news wasn't strong, so it was a publicly traded company and it wasn't looking great. But I started looking around and going, maybe the upside for this is not as high as I thought it was. For me to get the next role and actually direct one of these stores is probably way further off than I might think it is, or whatever it may be. And I probably was not going to be truly ready for the role I already had. And eventually the fake it till you make it was going to wear out on me, which could have been imposter syndrome. I don't really know. I'm looking back like 17 or 18 years at this point. But I looked around and I saw the negativity in the news, some layoffs that we had done. But the actual moment, this is actually like, I didn't cry or tear up over this, but I remember the gut check. And I had to give a presentation. By the way, this is 21-year-old Mitch. I was giving a presentation to like 85 employees that worked at this store. It was the store director and it was me. And I think the store director was sick. and maybe he just didn't want to give the presentation. I don't know. But I gave this team of 82 people a presentation about the future of the company and how everything's fine. Don't worry about what you're hearing in the news. We're going to open these stores. We've got this huge line of credit, whatever. And I got done saying it all. And there was something in there that I had seen. And I had recently looked at some reporting, and I'm like, these two things don't really math. And I felt like I just lied. Not, I didn't. Maybe I did. I lied for the company. I misled people for the company. I just said what I was supposed to say. But it really hit me. And that was the moment I decided I got to get out of here. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here yet. But that was my moment that really stuck out for me, that led me to make a pretty big change back in the day.
Yeah, you had integrity. Yeah. Was it Circuit City?
Yeah.
For any
How'd you
youngins
know?
listening, Circuit City doesn't exist anymore.
So I would have to Google it. They actually had a small resurgence, a very
Oh,
small
they
one. I
did?
don't, and yeah, and it's on the East Coast. They're from Richmond, so anybody who's in Richmond, which I know there's quite a few FI people in the Richmond area, that's where they originated from. So they may actually be back. But yeah, it was a tough decision to make, and I'm either very analytical or completely knee jerk, and there's no in between with me. That's just who I am. So I either wear out every thought you can have, or I'm just like, poof, I'm out. And in this case, I knew I needed to go, but I didn't know how. And so I started going down my path. Where am I going to go with this? How should I do this? What should I do next? What am I looking for? What do I want? How can I replace my income? And what pushed me over the edge to pull the trigger and just rip the band-aid off and go knee jerk was that I realized if this company goes under, there's going to be 82 salespeople just from my store. Plus, there's like 9 other stores around. And then there's going to be 3 to 4 people with a assistant store director, department manager, job title, name tag, all flooded in my marketplace. I don't want to compete with all of them because a lot of them are probably a lot better than me, more qualified than me, have college degrees, right? They're real adults. They're real adults. I was 21 years old. And so I once that hit me, I literally just gave notice like a week or two later. I cashed out all my PTO and I went out on the hunt looking for a job. And it took me about, I don't know, 7 weeks. And I found the career that I ended up in sort of now, as you know, the rest of that story. So it's kind of bizarre how these moments happen, and they're different for everyone, and they carry different weight and for very different reasons.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes it's like that. It's like you just know and you make the decision right then, or it's like a slow burn. The art history stuff was a slow burn. And just to maybe move away from careers a little bit, because I know we've talked about that in the past, but like leaving people and relationships behind. I had a very long time friend. We had met on around my 21st birthday, and the only reason why I know that is because I was traveling for my 21st birthday and I asked her to take notes in an art history class for me, and when I got back she had like the best notes ever. And so we just started hanging out after that, and we became best friends to the point where I was maid of honor in her wedding. And I I really enjoyed our friendship when I was younger because the kind of person I was very similar to the kind of person she was. And then as we got older, our paths just started to deviate. And not like literally, we still were into similar things. We even looked alike. She was also blonde hair, blue-eyed, which is funny. She did move to Florida, so we had a longer distance friendship, but it was more the way that we approached life was different. And even and I'm not even talking about like political stuff. It's not even that. It's just I no longer wanted to be the version of me who was 21 anymore. That version of me didn't serve me, didn't wasn't who I wanted to be, and so I started deviating away from that with therapy actually, and she didn't. She kinda buckled down, like, what's the word I'm looking for, actually? There's a different word. She,
Like dug her heels in,
dug yeah, not even dug her heels in, but just, like, doubled down is the word I'm looking for. She
double
doubled
down.
down on who she was, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I wasn't saying, like, that she was wrong, I was right. It was nothing like that. It's just that our personalities just shifted away from each other, but it was a slow burn. And then after a while, there was an incidence where I met up with her in Asheville, North Carolina, and there was something she said to me. She's a very, like, sarcastic person, like, that's her humor, but it can be very caustic and a little bit almost mean sometimes, which when I was younger, I thought was hilarious, and now I'm like, "I don't know about that." And so she said something to me that was rude and caustic, and she was meeting Chris for the first time, and I don't know, in that moment, I was like, "Why am I friends with this person who treats me like this?" Like, and so it was also how she was treating me, and so I decided to end the relationship, and it was very much like a breakup, and it was like a breakup of somebody you've known since, let's see, this was like 3 years ago, so let's say I was 35, and we knew known each other since I was 21, so 14 years, so it's a long time, and then I felt really bad because 'cause I'm in all of her wedding photos too, because 'cause I'm her maid of honor, but it just I couldn't sustain it anymore, and I didn't wanna, like, lead her on, and, like, I didn't wanna put any effort into a relationship that, like, I wasn't really here for and didn't really want anymore, and it just I don't know if she's listening to this. I hope not. I'm not gonna say her name, obviously, but it's like she was asking me, like, "What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?" And I kept telling her, like, "It's nothing you did wrong. We are just very different people." And I know just told this story like she did this thing to me and stuff, and that was kind of the catalyst, but it wasn't that she was wrong. It's just that we were so different that I didn't want that kind of energy in my life anymore, which sounds so woo-woo. That's so not me, but like it's true. I didn't want that kind of energy in my life anymore. So I had to make the decision and end it.
Ooh was one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorite phrases. I didn't know
Woo-woo.
that it was a
Yeah.
woo-woo. It's so just it's so widely applicable in so many situations, but it is interesting. I often think back on moments of impact or influence and things that have stuck with me and shaped me, and it's often something that somebody said to me. And as I was listening to you say that, I was reminded of a former employee of mine who is a tremendous person. We're still connected. We are not as close as we used to be because we don't literally work together every day. So we don't have a reason to see each other every day. And we both have very busy and involved job roles. But I remember sharing something with her about an interaction with somebody that I'm still close to today. So I'm not going to name them, but I'm still close with this person today. And I was telling her, hey, I'm going to see this couple. I'm going to see these people. I generally love hanging out with them, except for like this and this and this. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around how to be mentally prepared for that to come up. And she's kind of like, that's a lot of significant stuff. Like, why do you want to see this person? And I kind of explained myself, and I won't go into those details now or whatever. And finally I said, this is really interesting. I actually think what it boils down to is I don't know that I actually like being around these people. Maybe they've changed tremendously. And she looked at me and she goes, maybe they're exactly the same and you've just outgrown them. And I was like, wow, that was like super wise. Like thank you so
I'm
much.
doing head explosions. Y'all can't see
Yeah,
me, but I'm like,
yeah.
"Ooh, ooh," yeah.
So yeah, that really stuck with me. And she then went on to say, like, look, I've known you for a long time. We had known each other for 5 or 6 or 7 years. And she just said, you've changed a lot in the last few years, not just as a professional, but as a person. And I think like if you were to somehow be able to take a time machine and go backwards, you might enjoy those engagements a lot differently, and you've probably just outgrown them. So that was one thing that I thought of. And the second thing that's really funny is back to my Circuit City days, something you said triggered me to think this too. A guy that I was training under to be a manager, he was teaching me how to be a manager basically. I remember when I left his store and went to go back and do my job now at my new store. I remember him saying, like, well, it was good knowing you. And I thought he meant it just haphazardly. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll see you soon, Steve, or whatever. He's like, no, this is it. I know how these things go. I'll see you twice a year at the group training, and then that's it. And I'm like, no way, man. I'm like, this has been a great 3 months. Like, you're one of my new buds. This is going to be awesome. He goes, I'm telling you right now. And, he's 10, 12 years older than me. He goes, as soon as we work at different stores, this is our connection and thing in common. We're just not going to be connected anymore. And what's funny is it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't that either of us didn't like each other. We didn't want to stay connected. We just didn't have a reason to see each other regularly anymore. And it was like his kind way of saying, like, we just aren't going to have a reason to fit into each other's lives. I'm going to have my family priorities. You're going to have your family and friend priorities. We're just not going to line up. And I thought, that's a really honest statement to make, right? And I don't think it's that easy to do that. I don't know if you have any opportunities in your life to be that honest or transparent or realistic, maybe. And maybe this means nothing to anybody but me, but I don't think I would be that good even today at saying to anybody like, well, you just don't fit anymore. We're just going to part ways because we don't have a reason to connect anymore. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think some people might interpret it as like, well, that's rude. What's wrong with me? You don't want me in your life? No. No, because I think if you enjoy being around a person and you make it a priority to add them to your life, whether you have a thing in common regularly or not, you'll make it happen, you know? So our good friends, Ruthie and Phil, they lived in North Carolina. They lived like 30 minutes from us, and we saw them on occasion, but they were the kind of friends where when we saw them, it was fantastic, it was fun, and we wished they lived closer. Like, we were like, "We would see you all the time if you lived closer." And they moved to Pennsylvania to live with their family while they're saving some money to buy a house, and literally every day they're sending us text messages, memes, TikToks, funny things that their daughter did, updates on my side of things. And we're spending Christmas holidays together. We spent last Christmas holidays together, and we make it work because we want them in our lives. Like, we prioritize that relationship. So I think, and there's no common anything. We never work together. We don't live to get anywhere near each other now. The only common thing was that my husband and Ruthie's older sister went to high school together. That's it. That's how we all know each other. And so, like, but it's just that we have such a great connection and we enjoy them so much that we were like, we're going to make it a priority to keep these people in our lives. And we have a bunch of friends like that. And what sucks is we have a bunch of friends like that. So we have to, like, every weekend we have to be like, okay, who's coming over this weekend? Like, last weekend we had a hot pot dinner at our house with like 10 people. We like had a Friendsgiving with like 7 people, and then like this Saturday we have people coming over for a fire, and we just were like, I was like, should we invite more people so we can see more of our friends? So we just like group chatted a bunch of people, none of them know each other, like, hey, come over, it's gonna be cold, we have a fire. So yeah, I think if you like somebody enough and you want to make it a priority, it might be easier when you don't have kids. Like, we don't have kids yet, so maybe it's going to completely change because all of our friends don't have kids except for Ruthie and Phil, who don't live here now. But I don't know. I don't know.
It does get more challenging when you have kids because you got nap schedules and things to work around that are just they're simply more challenging. But as long as you can communicate and convey that to your friends, they generally understand, especially when you're the first one or one of the first to have kids. And it can be challenging, but people will generally work around it. Like, I can't tell you how many Christmas, Thanksgivings, 4th of July gatherings, whatever it was, where we're like, look, I know this thing starts 11 and it goes till 4. You're getting me at 1 because Bennett will fall asleep in the car around noon. We will arrive at 1. He'll probably sleep another 20, 30 minutes in his car seat, and then you'll have us until 4. Like, that's when we're coming. Sorry. I'd love to be there early, but it's not worth it to me to have a cranky child the rest of the day. That's not good for any of you. And then I have to pay for it twice because he's going to be a problem tomorrow. And I don't want that either. So that'll be fine. But it's interesting you mentioned the prioritizing of friends. So our core friend group goes back to college and post college. So I actually met Liz through one of my high school buddies They went to college together. And then she's from southern Minnesota, middle of nowhere. So during spring breaks and stuff, she would come down and hang out in the cities, we call it, and we'd all hang out. So I got to know her that way. And then eventually we were dating. And one of her good friends, now he has married. And so the four of us are great buds. And then one of my roommates, Paul, is another great friend of ours from way back then. And every time we hang out, like literally every time we hang out, I'm not involved in it. Liz figures it out, but they figure out when the next date is. Because if you don't plan it that day or within a couple of days, you blink and 4 months has gone by and you're like, we haven't seen you since, fill in whatever the date was, right? And so it is interesting when you prioritize it, you can absolutely make it happen, which is critical and important and it matters. And it kind of reminds me of like seasons and phases of life. And interestingly, the other thing that's changed is like those core people are my closest and regular friends. And then we have our church community that we're quite engaged with, all of our friends from there as well. But the other interesting phase that we're going through this last couple of years is Bennett's friends have birthday parties and they have barbecues and we get invited to it. So like right now, six to eight people that I spend the most time with are Bennett's buddies' parents, and I don't know if they'll forever be
I'm
in our
so worried
lives.
about that because I'm like, what if I hate my kids' parents? Like not their sorry, my kids' friends' parents. That's what I meant to say. But what if I hate
Yeah.
them but they love each other? That would suck.
Now, I don't know if we're just lucky or if it's just how it plays out, but in all honesty, I'm thinking through the friends and like this last March, I was on a work trip to Puerto Vallarta. Liz and I were on it. Somebody had to go to Puerto Vallarta and host the chairman's trip. So I got to go and host this trip. And a lot of people that come, like a sales guy or a sales gal will win the award. And only they can come and they can't bring their wife or they can't bring their husband because they have kids and they can't figure out childcare. So this salesperson will bring a buddy. Like they'll be like, hey, you want to come to Puerto Vallarta with me and hang out for a few days on a free trip? And they're like, heck yeah, let's go. And so Liz and I were walking the beach one of these days, and I said, if you weren't able to go on this trip, who would I bring with? And I started thinking through all my friends, and I landed on one of Bennett's buddies' parents who lives down the street. We kind of knew him, but because we both had kids within a year of each other, we became that much closer of buds, and that's who I would bring with. So totally a
Yeah.
seasons of life thing,
Yeah,
but
that's awesome. Yeah, and I think for some people who might be listening, there is this also aspect of if you don't have a big close family, like I don't, Chris doesn't, I love my sisters actually did come to my reception, which was awesome from Texas. But I haven't seen them since 2019. And it's not because we don't like each other. We just are so far away and I never go to Texas and they never come to North Carolina. But they came out for me that time. But the only family we have is my mom is in the state and that's it. And so we have to have our chosen family, right? And so all these people, they're more than friends. They're our chosen family. And so I think that's the other part of it is and also why we prioritize them because we see them as family, especially Ruthie and Felder. That's why we spend the holiday with them because first of all, we want a kid around because kids, holidays are way more fun with kids. She's only a year and a half, but they were like, "She can actually open presents this year," because last year she was only 6 months old, not even. She was born in July, so, in December, she's not even 6 months old. But she did learn to crawl, almost crawl. She was, like, rocking back and forth last year. It was so cute. So this year, she's talking. She doesn't know who Santa is, but she does know what presents are and how to open them, so that's gonna be fun. So but yeah, it's fun to have your chosen family, so
yeah, and I think you had a Friendsgiving, which sounds awesome, by the way. Yeah, I know a lot of people do that on the Wednesday night before, but that was like straight up your Thanksgiving. And
yeah.
it reminds me,
We played games. Played games and drank.
that's we we are just talking about we were talking about how many years ago before we were married, Liz and three girls lived in this house with one bathroom, by the way, and we just called it the girls' house. So whenever like, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're gonna go over to the girls' house, and that's where we go hang out. And back then, somehow, some way, we started this event. Liz and her friends started what they called dinner club, and we just rotated every Thursday night. One person made dinner for all, And then this crowd of people, I would guess 8 to 15, maybe 20 people would come over. We'd hammer this dinner and we'd play random games and just have a blast. And we were just thinking back on that and talking about how we need to be more intentional about getting together with this one couple friend that we have. And they don't live far away, but it's just schedules are tough, right? So we committed, we're getting together every month. I was like, man, that's almost like dinner club. We should almost think about starting dinner club again because community is so great. Being around people is so wonderful. And if people want to be in your lives, they'll make a way to make it work, right? And I think it'd be terrific to see that all come back
Yeah.
together.
So let's move on a little bit. We did talk about friends a lot. Friends are very important to us, obviously. But let's talk about leaving other stuff behind. So, one thing that I've left behind a little bit just after starting this podcast is listening to financial podcasts. I feel so guilty about it too because people are like, oh, did you hear ChooseFI's latest episode? I'm like, no, I haven't listened to that show in like a year. I'm sorry, Brad, if you're listening to this. But it's, there I'm so inundated with so much financial media and so much financial content with all of the people that I interview. And I actually have so much content that I don't know what to do with it, which is a great problem to have. But like I have a whole huge backlog of content. I've got more interviews coming up. It's amazing. I love it, but I don't want more of that in my enjoyment time. So I've moved away from listening to and a financial podcast, and my favorite podcast is called Diabolical Lies. I won't go into what it is, but it's basically a political and social commentary podcast that Katie Gaddy Tassan from Money with Katie started with, a writer. They don't talk about money. They do talk about capitalism a lot though. And they're not fans, and it's like the best show ever. But it's definitely for you progressives out there. You gotta be uber liberal to really like that show, or open-minded. So there's that one, and then I like a lot of the health debunking shows, like Science Versus is a really good one. Maintenance Phase is a really, really good one. And then there's Dr. Karen's show. I forget what his is called, but yeah, so I'm into like the health stuff and then the social commentary slash political stuff. So yeah.
Before you disappear here, I'm gonna play your own card. You'll often say, I want to understand more about that. And I'm curious, you said at some point in time you decided to stop listening to financial podcasts. And I think you've maybe said on the show before and I've spaced it, but what led you to make that decision outside of just, I don't want more of that in my life? Why?
I think another part of it was that like I didn't feel like there was much more to learn from that area anymore because of how much I'm learning from all the interviewing I'm doing already. So there wasn't really a moment of where I was like, I'm done with this. It was kind of it wasn't even a conscious decision. It's just that I've been doing this podcast, and so when I turn on a podcast and I'm still subscribed to ChooseFI, I'm still subscribed to HerMoney, to Afford Everything, anything, not everything. I'm still subscribed to them all, but when I'm scrolling through episodes, I'm looking for these other ones. And so it's just like I'm gravitating away from it, and it wasn't like a conscious choice really. It's more like a preference, if that makes sense. So there wasn't really a hard, I don't want to do this anymore. It was just, I don't feel like I need it right now.
Season of life. I was curious because the hint and the tease into all of this is that I've chosen to kind of sidestep or maybe like take the freeway exit and drive the frontage road and let Phi be the freeway, right? It's like I'm just kind of driving along, going a little bit slower, watching what's happening over here. I'm aware it's out there, but I've actually taken the step. I texted Megan, I don't know, a week ago, week and a half ago. I texted you, and then I have like 4 or 5 people that I consider like truly on what I call my personal board of directors. They know me really, really, really well. I tell them whatever they need to know. They give me their feedback and I make decisions, right? Once again, I either am completely analytical or I'm 100% knee jerk and there is no in between. So I went to my personal board of directors and I told them, I said, here's the deal. I have been obsessed with financial independence since somewhere around 2014 to 16. That's like 8 or 9 years. And every week I listen to 3 to 6 FI podcasts. And I never miss one. I literally have listened to every episode of ChooseFI. I've listened to every episode of Afford Anything. I've listened to every episode of EverydayFI. And I've been featured on a couple of them or a part of them, right? I've listened to almost every episode of Sound Investing by Paul Merriman. I had to quit Ramit Sethi because I couldn't stand his show. No offense, man, but it wasn't my show. And I realized I was hate listening to it. I wasn't enjoying it. Was like hate watching a TV show. I didn't like the show. I had to cut that out. And I realized, like, kind of like you said, I'm not really learning anything new. But then it became a fear of what if I miss something new that I should know? And that wasn't enough of a motivator for me to be like truly excited that some podcast popped up this week and I'm really excited to listen to it. So I kind of was wondering, like, why am I still so engaged in this? It's almost like I can't quit because this is what people know me as. It's part of my identity, whatever. But the actual thing that pushed me over the edge, that led me to eventually text you, whatever, a week or 10 days ago, after I went to my personal BOD and said, this is kind of crazy, but I realized I am surrounded by, in the FI community, people who are aiming to quit their jobs. And I have removed the aim to quit my job. I am choosing to work. And when the constant noise and echo chamber on my Facebook feed and in my ears 4 to 6 hours a week is about tactics to quit your job, why you should quit your job, why you shouldn't work for the man, all these different thoughts. And I'm like, I wonder if I just didn't fixate and focus on this for a while, what might happen? And so 5 days ago, 6 days ago, something like that, from when we're recording this, I unsubscribed from every podcast except EverydayFI, and I stayed subscribed to Afford Anything because I love Paula Pant's First Friday episode about the like overarching macro economy. I really like that episode. And then I will pick and choose if I want to listen to the episodes with her and ChooseFI. So I killed that all off and I replaced it with an audiobook. So I'm still listening to things. I knew I wasn't going to just like not be listening to educational audio. So I'm listening to an audiobook instead of podcasts. But here's what's crazy. And then I'll shut up and you can ask any questions you want to ask. So I hadn't listened to podcasts for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. And I finally got around to listening to the first Friday episode. And my podcast app runs at 1.5x. And my Libby audiobook app runs at normal speed. And it was so funny. I used to hear just 4, 5, 6 days ago, I would hear when I got into my wife's car and she had a podcast on at normal speed. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds slow. Now it's already the inverse. I had been listening to a book at normal speed for 6 days. I turned on First Friday and it was
It's like,
boom. It was like listening. Yeah. Yeah. That was the first thing I noticed. So that's the big picture. I'll pause and let you ask whatever you want to ask, and then we can kind of go back and forth as much as you
well,
think.
that's your big picture. So silly.
What do you mean?
The speed is your big picture.
Well, okay, no, the speed wasn't the big picture. The speed was more just like my random humor. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
first thing I
Okay.
noticed.
Gotcha.
The big picture was the whole demonstrative, get off the freeway, ride in the
Oh,
frontage
okay.
road,
Okay.
FIs. Come on. Were you even listening?
Yes. Okay. No, I guess my question is like, what do you expect? Like you said, I want to see what happens when I stop listening and I stop like, being involved in this and having this echo chamber around me of all this. Like what do you kind of want to happen? Like I guess to me that signifies that something was happening that you didn't want to be happening and now you want something different to happen. So what is that? Like say more. Say more about that. I'm going to use a corporate
Yeah.
term.
Well, we're like flipping this around. It's like turning into a normal episode all of a sudden, which I thought might happen once I said all that. So what I'm hoping to happen is it's kind of funny. When I originally decided I wanted to exit my previous career in business ownership, I went on the therapy journey because I thought something was wrong with me. Right seat, right chair, right legacy, right money, all the right things, but it wasn't for me. And what's wrong with me, right? Figured that all out. There's nothing wrong with me. Now, what's interesting is I am mostly happy in what I do. There are some things that drive me crazy. It's impossible not to, but I'm mostly happy in what I do. I really enjoy working with my boss. I'm helping people exactly the way that I thought, almost exactly the way that I thought I'd be helping them. And I have to deal with some like corporate nonsense as part of the process, and that's to be expected. So, what I'm trying to avoid is like at the end of a tough, long, trying day, I'd like to just go upstairs and hang out with my family and enjoy it and not have my automatic thought be, because of the trailing audio I listened to that morning or over the weekend or whatever, be, man, you could be doing this so much more. And that's still true. I could be doing it more, but it's actually not that much more, which is kind of interesting. So, like, my son, he's home till 9 before he goes on the bus every day. I start my day at about 8, so I lose an hour with him every day. That's not nothing, right? But I don't have to commute to work like a lot of families do. I just walk right down to my basement. And at the end of my day, I tend to be done around 5 o'clock. He gets home at 4. But you know what he's doing from 4 to 4:45? That's his chill time with his tablet and his game, and he goofs off. He gets his 30, 40 minutes. So it's really 20 more minutes that I actually would have gotten with him. So it's not that much more. And so I wanted to be able to just appreciate and enjoy the good thing that I do have in my career without feeling like I'm betraying the community that I'm a part of, and just be able to see what it feels like to just be me in my current situation and see what that feels like. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the curse of like the fire versus the fi, right? Like I think that's why a lot of us are trying to get away from the RE part, even though that's the part that draws a lot of people in some of the time because they hate their job or they're like, I work too hard or I wanna spend more time with my family, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a totally valid goal. I mean, it's definitely my goal. But I think you are fi. Like you're still in that. That still is part of your identity, like you said. Like fi is your purpose. You just want to fire your mom now or fire your mom. And I think most people, even when they reach FI, and even if they reach FIRE, do something with their time afterwards that may make a little bit of money, may not, but they're not just sitting on a beach sipping margaritas. They want to spend their time and have a purpose. And this is your purpose. It's just also a traditional job. So yeah, I
Very traditional.
yeah, and like you said, if it ever got to a point where you're like, "I want that hour back with my son," I'm sure you have the FU money and then some to tell work, "Hey, I'm gonna start at 9 now." "I'm gonna start at 9 now and go till 5 instead of starting at 8 and go till 5." Like, there you go, done. So, yeah, I do find it funny that you said part of your identity though, which is so interesting because that is what people who get stuck in jobs feel like when they, like, don't wanna retire is they're like, "I'm only doing this because it's part of my identity, and who am I if I don't do this job?" Like, that's how it sounds like that's how you felt when you're in the FI community, like, "Who am I? Because I'm so in this community, I'm so entrenched, I'm on a podcast. I had my own podcast for a little while, who am I if I don't do this?" And so it's really interesting that you're separating that because a lot of people don't know how. So, yeah.
Newsflash, neither do I. I'm just figuring it out. I'm honestly just figuring it out. It's very interesting, and you're right. I do have the ability with the whole. I could just say, I'm not working that hour, and I could probably figure it out to an extent. And but that's the interesting rub, right? Like, so I don't remember what the audience knows about this, but I know you know this. This 2 summers ago, not this current summer, but the previous one, 2024, just use years, in 2024. I quit the other gig. I sold my company that I owned a piece of, and I was gone for 3 months. I completely took control of my life, chose to come back and work again. And I chose to come back and work again with some limited terms. I will only travel X amount. This is approximately what we're going to do. I'll be happy to serve in this capacity. If you ask me to do more, I'm going to charge you more for my time, and only if I agree to do so, right? Like that was my deal with my CEO and at the time boss. And so then I get rolling. I'm rocking. Things are good. I've made a new name for myself. I'm dominating at what I'm doing. And I set a new set of terms so that this last summer, 2025, I went to my supervisor and I said, hey, I'm letting you know this summer I'm going to take off for about a month. I'm going to be working remotely from my camper. I'm going to use a ton of PTO. I don't have enough PTO to solve for everything I need. So I'm going to have to flex my hours some weeks where like I'm going to disappear for like 4 hours in the middle of the day. And then I'm going to work 4 hours at night or on the weekend to make up for it. The business will not know that I'm gone, other than it'll be hard to align some scheduling with me at times. And he says, I'm not going to get in the way with it. Get in the way of it. Go do that. And so I say that because once again, like I've got a good gig. I'm highly compensated. My why and purpose at this point is to accelerate to a fatter version of Fi and to solve my mom's retirement problem. And I can do it while working on something that I enjoy. If they were to say no to me about my 5 week trip I have planned to Colorado this month, I don't know yet how I would respond to it. But the key is you plan the trip to Colorado, you pay for all the trip to Colorado, and then you tell them you're going to Colorado for 5 weeks. My boss isn't going to say no, but like it's tough to want to exit. Even if I didn't have my mom's problem to solve for, retirement wise, it's tough to want to exit when I kind of have the best of both worlds. I work from home, my nights and weekends are mine. My summers, I get to capture 5 weeks, right? Like that's pretty cool to be able to do and to have those levers to be able to pull. And yeah, it's just, it's really interesting. So when I talk to my 4 or 5 friends, and they kind of laughed at me. They're like, "You're making a bigger deal out of this than any of us ever would. Like you still got 30,000 hours of education in this space. We're not going to stop coming to you when we're wondering if we should do a traditional IRA or a, or a Roth, right? We're still going to come to you for that stuff. And go listen to something that makes you laugh. Go listen to some literature that you never had listened to before. Note, by the way, I don't pick up and read books. I really only listen to them. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And the other funny part is, I don't think anybody in the ChooseFI Facebook group or the Stacking Benjamins groups that I was in, any of that stuff that I did online, nobody's gonna notice I'm gone.
I was gonna ask, are you gonna, like, announce it somewhere
No,
or something? You're just
no.
gonna Irish goodbye all of the well, now you're announcing it. You're announcing it on the show. This show is coming out on December 22nd, which is, 12 days from now.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I did Irish goodbye. I muted or quieted the groups. I did not not join. I didn't exit the group. I'm still a member because I do think at some point I might turn it back on, but we're on a break,
We
Ross and
were on
Rachel
a
situation.
break.
Yeah.
So, are you gonna do the in-person events, though? I know you can't make the Richmond event with Alan Donegan, which I'm very sad about, by the way, because I think that one's gonna be the bomb. But are you still gonna do some of the in-person events? Because I feel like that's such a different level of like, I'm still gonna do that. Yeah, I don't listen to the podcast anymore, and of course, I'm not on social media anyway, but I'm going to the events because those are fun, right? Those are more than just talking about Fi. It's like just so much fun. So I was just, yeah, are you gonna do that or be open to
So
it if you're available?
open to yes, likely to probably not. And it's because I already travel quite a bit with my wife and son, or just with Liz for our own fun. We travel, I'm on an airplane 4 to 5 times a year for fun. And then I'm on an airplane 6 to 10 times a year for work. And it's just hard to be gone that much. And so locally, I like some of our local groups, which actually is going to be a challenge. I'm going to have to maybe go into the ChooseFI app and figure out how to stay subscribed. Actually, I do still get the digest, so like I can figure out when events are hosted in my area. I just haven't gone to any since before summer because I was gone for summer and then I came back and
And there's a
I have
camp
no
there's a Camp Fi over by you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's you continuously remind people that I call your Prius a beater, but I
I
remember
call
that
it
you
that
said
now. I call it
you also once said that everywhere in Minnesota is cornfields, and I didn't forget that. But out in the cornfields, there is a Camp Fi. It's a really cool town, actually, but there's a Camp Fi out there. But it's the weekend of my son's birthday, so like I can basically never go and do that. And Liz has no interest in doing any of this stuff. It's really like she has zero interest in coming to these types
Yeah.
of events.
I brought Chris to
So
one in Spain, and he was like, "This was cool," and I was like, "Would you ever do that again?" And he was like, "No."
no,
It's like,
yeah,
"Okay,
I
that's fair."
the people that organize the ChooseFI here in the Twin Cities, they put on a great group, but they schedule them on Sundays during Vikings football games, which like that's one of my life values is I do not miss Vikings games for basically anything. And so until the football season's over, I will not return to any of those actually. But
Well, why don't you can you put on an event for like can you host one yourself and say, "Let's do a Vikings game thing?" I don't know. That might be fun. Some 5 folks might like that.
maybe.
Mm. I just say because like, so the FI group in Raleigh, Durham, so we have a WhatsApp group now, which is really nice. It's not the whole city. It's just like, I don't know, 20, 30 of us. And that's really nice because then we all kind of plan something in the group and then Tanya, who's kind of the organizer of that WhatsApp group, will then like post it in the main ChooseFI like group, but then our main group are the ones who kind of planned it. And so we can just put stuff forward and be like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did? So we did like a book club and, and we chat in there all the time too. And that's much less like social media. It's more like a group of friends talking. I like it a lot
Hmm.
better. It's also a much smaller group, which is nice. So it's not like strange. It's still strangers like looking at a post online versus like we actually have met all these people in life. So it's easier to be, I don't know, kinder. So yeah.
That's an interesting angle. The gal that runs the group here, the main gal, her name's Keely. I don't know who the other person is, but I may reach out to her and suggest the WhatsApp group because I will not remove myself from the Fire in Vegas group. I really like that group. And as you know, I, I don't know the last financial thing we talked about in that group. It's it's always about just fun stuff and travel and different life events with that group.
And like asking
So,
advice and stuff like that, which is really nice. I have a
mhm,
ton of WhatsApp groups like that. So yeah.
yeah. Yes, I'll stay in there, but it's an interesting angle to consider hosting something like that, either at my house or gathering somewhere like at some brewery or whatever to catch a Vikes game or whatever it may be. But it's I'd have to think about like what do I want that to be and why do I want it to be to provide it purpose to not just do it because you said that I should or could and that it's again this fi identity like oh that's how I could keep my identity alive.
Yeah, and you don't have to
So
do that. Like, but I don't want you to feel pressured by me. You don't have to do anything I say. Absolutely not. No. I guess for me,
so
it's just that it's like another group of friends for me, and I don't know, maybe part of it is like I grew up not having a whole lot of friends because I was always the new kid moving around a lot, and so now that I have like all these friends, I am very like what's the word I'm looking for? Not selfish, but just like I want to keep them around, I want I'm not guarded, protective. I'm like protective of my friend circles. So, yeah.
yeah, I don't blame you for that. I also moved around a bunch and so I had different friend groups at different phases of life and it wasn't until like the people that I mentioned earlier that are my closest friends, like my buddy Matt, that's a part of that group. We met seventh grade keyboarding class, not computer keyboarding, music keyboarding class.
You were cool. Everybody, Mitch was
Yeah, that was
cool.
really
Mitch
cool.
was
That was really
cool.
cool.
He played an instrument. So,
No, I don't think that makes you cool.
were you like Ross again? Have you seen the Ross Friends episode where he's the keyboardist? He does the keyboard
Yeah.
music. So
That's
bad. It's
so
so bad.
are you familiar with the Mad Fientist's whole like music thing that he
Yeah.
does?
Yeah, yeah. He like wrote music and he said not everybody would be into it. And I've always wanted to like look it up, but then I never do.
I picture him in the nicest way possible, I picture him
As
like
Ross?
Ross.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's what I picture because he said it's like this really unique music that not a lot of people would like. It's very like eclectic and whatever. So I don't even know how we got there,
I
but
know, we've, like,
yeah.
totally we're on a side quest right now, y'all. So, in this conversation.
But
Um,
yeah, that's my 2 cents. It's
mhm.
very
That's your
interesting.
big
I'm
you're leaving it behind. You loved it,
yeah,
now you're leaving it. Now so this is why I brought up the Joan Didion thing, and I do Mitch, I do think you should read it because I think it's interesting. It's just an essay, it's not very long. You might be able to get the audio version of it, I don't know, but basically, the theme of it is and is that you can love something and then start to hate it and then leave it and then love it again because you left it. And you could come back to it too because you left it, right? And so that's literally why I put this as the title because it is the theme of that essay. There's also a book, a collection of essays called Goodbye to All That Loving and Leaving New York City, a collection of essays of people who like left New York, came back to New York, left New York forever. So it's I know it's about a city, but it's also just you can take New York out of it, replace it with whatever you want. It's very similar. So, yeah, that's why I named it like that. So I think walking away from it, it might make you, if you decide to come back, that much more appreciative of it.
it's goodbye for now, and I'm staying in touch. Because
Exactly.
I am like I'm following you for the audience. I don't know if we said this, but I'm still doing this show as long as Megan still lets me do it once a
Yeah, I was
month.
gonna ask. I was like, do we need to like say that you're not gonna be on here? Because you didn't tell me that. I hope you will be, because I'm like, how am I gonna fill that space? No.
I think if you go back and read my really long text I sent, I think I said I'm still doing this, but I did use speech to text,
Yeah,
so there's a
you guys,
chance.
Mitch writes me novels of texts. Like, I am a TLDR type too, so sometimes I'll just scan it and be like, "Oh, he's leaving the FI community, okay, and he wants to talk about it on the show, okay," and then that's it. That's like that's the gist. I got the gist.
Truth, yeah. So yeah, it's goodbye for now. We'll see where it goes. I'm looking forward to exploring, like experiencing and seeing what it feels like. And it's kind of funny because like to go again back to the therapy comments conversation. I remember when I first sought out and found my therapist, she had me do this homework, like what are your goals? What might this look like? How will you know that you've overcome the goal or whatever? And like I am limited in my capacity of words to describe emotions. Like we had to use the feelings wheel for me to be able to name my feelings like I'm a toddler, right? It's still true now. How do you feel? Mad? Within mad, how do you feel? One of those four wedges, it's like that's where I'd come up with the feeling, right? But when it was like, how will you know? And I was like, I think I'll just be chill. And eventually she's like, yeah, we're gonna work on that.
Chill.
And
You guys, I'm dying in the background. I'm muted, but I'm like sitting here dying with the motion wheel and like so
it's a feelings wheel.
whatever. Cracks me up.
But yeah, that's I'm just gonna see how it feels. And I may check back in, I may introduce back in. It's almost like if you've ever done a whole 30, like the diet, the whole 30 for 30 days, you cut out all this bad stuff.
I did that
And
one day
then
and it was horrible.
oh my gosh. So I do not live life whole 30 status, but I've eliminated eliminated.
I
I've
might I
eliminated.
might keep that in because that was you guys,
I've
this is
eliminated much from my diet.
we're like over an hour into recording post work day. It's tough. It's tough, y'all.
I promise I'm a competent professional. Yeah, I've eliminated much from my diet, but when you do the whole 30, you strip everything away and you go to zero and you go to baseline, you let your body reset and then you slowly introduce things back in. So like day 1, maybe you're like dairy's my thing. I want cream in my coffee again. You put it in there and you see how it goes. And the next day, maybe you want a little more cream or maybe you want to eat some Kerrygold cheese that's like more friendly because it's grass-fed cows, right? And you introduce that and you see how it goes and see how it goes. And when it gets to be too much, you stop. And then you go back and you go, okay, just cream in the coffee for several days. And then you might try, let me give a shot to grains. And it crushes you and you're like, nope, grains ain't it, right? So that's the general concept, and I may apply the same logic forward here. So Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. It's goodbye for now, but you're still stuck with me once a month until Megan fires me. So
Yeah. Well, and I know you guys are like, "Oh, that's the end of the show." It's not quite. I have a little teaser. I didn't wanna talk about this. It's so poignant, which is not the right word, but it's so relevant to this topic, but I'm gonna do probably either an episode or a few episodes on this, but I did put in my notice at work, on I think December 2nd was the day that I did it, and it felt so good. My last day is January 9th, and I'm not doing another job. Like, I am walking away from work for a while, and, I'm actually walking away from that career, the product management career. It's really not for me, and so I'll probably be out of the work environment. I mean, we planned it out for at least 5 years, so this is my mini retirement that's, like, really long, but not full retirement. So, yeah, that's I'm really excited about it, and I know you guys are like, "What? Oh my god, I wanna hear more." So here's the thing, January 9th is my last day. I do wanna talk about this. It has to be behind a paywall because I wanna be very truthful, and I do not want the public hearing what I have to say. So I'm gonna be setting up I already have a Patreon. I don't do anything with it. It's just there for like people to like support me if they want to, but there's literally no content on it. I'm gonna be flushing that out, getting that up and ready, and putting premium content on there. It's going to be ad-free episodes, it's going to be bonus episodes and all that kind of stuff including this story. And so that's going to be coming in early 2026 once I quit my job and be working on that. I've already got some episodes recorded for that. David, if you guys know David Robinson, he came on and helped my friend Jess, quote Jess, not their real name, but with their finances, and also came on and interviewed himself. So he is another guest host of mine who has been doing a lot of tactical episodes with me. And so I'm going to be also introducing that as bonus content as well. So you guys have that to look forward to in the new year. I'm very excited to do it. And now that I don't work, I can focus on doing it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Like I actually like cannot wait to start doing this stuff. That's what I meant by having all this content that I don't know what to do with it. So I'm just going to offer it in a different way. So, yeah, sorry, Mitch. I just completely like derailed this whole conversation and went into like promotion mode, but or just like I'm just very excited about this because I love this podcast and it's what I would much rather be spending my time on than work. So,
well, you should be excited about it. It's big stuff, it's exciting stuff, and I knew you were going to go there with it eventually. So I'm excited for you. I was very happy when you decided to pull the trigger and quit. I was happy for you because it was, well thought through. And I understand, and I've seen it a million times over, that when somebody makes up their mind that they're going to go, they just don't know when. Every day gets harder to stay.
oh, that was
And
so true. So true. It's like it's such a even right now, it's such a slog. Even though I put
yeah.
in my notice, I'm like, "Oh, January 9th cannot come fast enough." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you close out your show and your episode. I do want to say this, like, staying home with your kiddo for 5 years will make such a big impact. Liz stayed home with Bennett by choice, and he was already an awesome kid. Like, he was going to be an awesome kid, but like, he is exponentially more well behaved, more pleasant to be around, probably smarter in certain ways because of the time that she invested in him that just would not have been the same if we sent him elsewhere. And I get it. Not everybody has the privilege to be able to do that, but she's really grateful that she was able to do that. And we are thankful that we made the sacrifice because we would have been to FI sooner had we not done that if she had kept working, right? Even with paying for daycare. So I don't think it's a decision that you'll regret on the path in any way. So I know you didn't ask my opinion on whether or not I thought you'd
Oh,
regret it
no,
or
I
not,
mean,
but
I appreciate that.
congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. No, it was definitely like something we thought very deeply about. So I'll go into all of that on the other episodes about like, where the idea came from, why it happened, the planning, the conversations with, everybody around me, including my husband, the feelings in each phase. So that's what I mean why I was like, I think this might be more than one episode because there's a lot. I've been kind of journaling about it and there's a lot. So but yeah, that's it for the episode today, Mitch, unless there's anything else you'd like to add before we sign off.
Your feelings wheel out when you're ready to do that episode series.
Yeah, feelings wheel. Emotions wheel. I'm going to call it emotions wheel just to annoy you. Call it the wrong thing. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a quick rating. Also, hit up my Patreon at patreon-everydayfi podcast for ad-free and bonus content coming in 2026. I'm Meghan Combs, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Fi.